Welcome to Copywriting Part 1. So, copywriting dates back many years, and you've been subject to it your entire life. Any purchase you make from an ad, email, commercial, or billboard is due to copywriting. And this is what you'll learn to do to reach clients. It's about the relationship between you and your target audience. Think of it as person to person. Think of it like dating. You don't propose on the first date. You build the relationship first. Blogs, sales pages, emails always need to use the principles of copywriting, even if you're not selling anything. It's your way to reach people, and a chance for you to be the real you, and a way to get your message out to the world. So this is your chance to be heard, understood, and this is your chance to relate to the potential clients that you're seeking to reach. Professional copywriting, the writer generally doesn't know the end user. They're hired by a company, then they have to go through all this research to find out about the company's end user, and it's not really written as personal as it could be. So writing for your own business is an advantage because you do know the client. And when you write, it's you speaking, and it needs to sound like that. You want to relate to people like you do in real life. So it's very much having a voice like you would have if you were speaking to them in person, only you're doing it in written word. Here are some of my tips. Copywriting theory is proven, but it can seem somewhat cookie cutter. So you need to use words that sound like you. You won't do this well unless you practice. When you get an idea for a turn of phrase, or a way to express something you think and feel, or a concept or a topic for an email, just write it down somewhere and save it, or type it into a Word document and save it in there, somewhere where you can find it. And then when you go to write it all in one shot first, then go back and edit. So don't try to write well from the beginning. Just get it down on paper so you have all the key points, and then you can refine what you wrote. If you can, have your work proofed or read it multiple times. Now, I don't have time to get my emails proofed or my PowerPoints. I do have all my key documents proofed, my done-for-you items, recipes. Even now I'm doing my sales pages, I'm getting them proofed. You want to watch out when others proof your work, because sometimes they take your meaning out because they don't get it. And copywriting doesn't need to follow all the grammar rules, and sometimes they're trying to make it more grammatically correct, and you don't want it to sound that way. You want it to sound somewhat more like speaking. But if you do have to read it yourself, then just do it a number of times. Like that's what I do with my emails. If I can, I'll do it 3 or 4 or 5 times, then I'll leave it, and then I'll come back the next day and read it one last time. And I usually find something that last time when I'm looking at it with fresh eyes. So that's something you can do yourself. Always think about who you want to read your writing. Picture them, because if you're picturing a person who's going to be reading it, it's easier to write to them. And remember, you're building a relationship. If you grasp this concept, then copywriting is easier. Think of it like talking to a friend and convincing them to go to a movie. It's folksier, less formal, and incorrect grammar and sentence structure are all allowed. And when you talk your friend into going into the movie, what do? You negotiate, right? If they don't want to go, or maybe they don't want to go to the movie you want, you make a bargain with them. You offer them something. This is kind of what you're doing when you're copywriting. So think about what you do with a friend when you're trying to talk them into something. How does your mind think before you have the conversation? You always plan your strategy. You know that your friend is probably not going to want to go to this movie, so you always set up a strategy in your head before you start talking to them, don't you? Well, this is very similar. You're just going to plan what your strategy is to convince people that this service is for them. And you appeal to them, your friends, that is, with something you know means something to them, right? You offer them something that will say, okay, I'll do it. This is fine, right? You're using basically inside info you have about them to motivate them to do what you want. You do it in a friendly way that makes them smile and give in. So 2 considerations when you're trying to do this is you want to avoid following the path of others and using cliches. There are all kinds of free lead magnets you can download. It says, top 10 copywriting words to use, and all. Most of them you won't want to use. I have a list of some of them at the very end of this copywriting module. And yeah, I don't think you'd use half of them. How do you use words to inspire without making claims? That's difficult, right? So you have to think more about less specifics and more, how they feel, what they desire, what they may be able to accomplish without going into the specifics of the health condition and, claiming that that's going to be cured or something like that. Typical copywriting strategies may not work for us because of this, so you have to be careful. When looking at ads, think about who they're for and how they want people to feel. So if you are looking for ideas, other ads can be helpful, but just remember they don't have some of the restrictions that we have. You may have to compromise in order to stay in scope. This means the story becomes more important. And so you're in this program to learn how to write stories, and stories can tell people a lot without you having to make any claims. If you're speaking emotionally, this keeps you in scope. And you can also use positive psychology techniques in your writing to take your writing and speaking to another level. So instead of always focusing on the negative side of what might be going on with a person, you try to put it into more positive terms. Like if they have bad skin, you don't talk about the bad skin and how unattractive it is, or that sort of aspect, and play on that kind of pain point where you're making them even feel worse about themselves. You want to talk about having beautiful skin because this is what they want to achieve. And so this is what positive psychology can allow you to do, is how to go from where they are to where they want to be. And you can use a lot of language around that so it's more focusing on where they can go as opposed to where they are. And when you do this, you're actually starting the healing process in your marketing material. And this is something that is of great importance to us. We are practitioners. We are trying to help people recover and repair. And psychologically, we motivate them from a positive perspective, not from a negative perspective. And when you can turn on that positive perspective in their brain, you're already starting the process. Because we all know that a healthy emotional outlook, or feeling optimistic about your ability to solve your problems, actually helps motivate, helps turn on different things within the body that are very healing in nature, and this is a good thing. So copywriting involves moving a prospective client through the relationship. This can be done in one email, a sales page, or a series of communications. This is what an email sales funnel can do. It's a series of emails where you send them good content and they get to know you and what you do and how it will help them. So if they've signed up for your lead magnet, or they've attended a webinar, or you've managed to get their email address because maybe you spoke somewhere and you passed around a piece of paper and said, to anybody who wants my ebook of some kind, give me your email address and I'll send it to you. You can put people into what they call an email sales funnel. You can automate this if you want, and they just get them automatically. That's more for when you're pointing them towards eventually a specific product, and you're going to want to have everybody kind of move through the funnel, when they're ready, not all at once. But it could also just be you sending out emails manually where you're giving good content, and then when you're ready to offer them something, you do. But this is how they get to know you. Copywriting is persuasive with the intention of driving an action. You want to give compelling reasons to take action now. So if they don't have like an early bird deadline or a special bonus they only get if they sign up now, or some kind of sale price of this is why these are done. It's because people will take advantage of them because there's something pushing them to do it at a specific date. Branding, the impression a brand is making on you, is not necessarily selling at the time, but it it creates an image or a feeling about what you provide and what you're like that allows them to feel good. If they like what they've seen originally, they're going to continue to like it because they like this brand. They like the way you write. They like the way you talk. So you don't have to be too branded. You're not a commercial product, but you should have a sense of who you speak to and what they see in you. And that is your brand. And you want to have a consistency to your look from a visual perspective, so in terms of colors and things like that on websites and logos and stuff like that. And then you also want to have a consistency to the way you write and speak. This is another reason why you can't farm this out to somebody else. Okay, so that's the end of part 1. So we'll go on to part 2 now.